Welcome everyone to Connie Reacts. I'm your host, and today we will be reacting to episodes 3 and 4, I believe. Let me check. Yes, episodes 3 and 4 of season 6 of Adventure Time. It's been quite a long time since we've done any Adventure Time. Back on the old channel, it's been weeks. Maybe even over a month. I'd even guarantee over a month actually at this point. Um, we took a break and everything to get caught up on some other stuff, and now that we're back, yeah. Last time we left off, I believe, was the entire thing with Finn's father and whatnot. So knowing this show, who knows where it's going to go now? It could bring back continuity from the distant past, from just direct past, or even just do something completely different. Who knows? Um, yeah, per usual, I just know nothing about what's going to happen here. So, why waste any time? Like, seriously, why waste any time talking about it? We're just going to get into this with episodes 3 and 4. I'm excited. Let's find out what we've got. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers on both episodes. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so we had 2 episodes here, James 2 and The Tower. And yes, I know we only did 2 episodes this time. Normally I would do like 4 or something because they're half length, but I had 2 downloaded, so I just went with it. um, okay. James 2, extremely disappointing. Super anticlimactic and did not deliver uh, on the build-up at all. The end of the James episode ended with those, with the James zombie and the other, like, nuclear zombies coming. And that was a big, like, finale. Everything about that episode was like this really big build-up thing. And it was like, it felt like it was going to be this big, huge uh, deal. But they kind of made this entire episode of James 2 silly. And I know a lot of Adventure Time is silly, but something like this should have had a proper, conclusive, just, it should have been properly concluded. Um, when you have something like that that's actually pretty freaky and terrifying, you don't move off of that with just silliness. Especially when it's something that's actually kind of a big deal. We've seen the nuclear zombies before in the case of Marceline's flashback with her and Simon. And they were a big deal because they were kind of one of the biggest struggles that those two faced that we know of at the time when they were younger, and before right after everything went down and all. So to see them again and to see them in that context was huge. Now, I knew that when they came back, the new second James was going to have some kind of role to play, sure. And I even could have expected the second James to sacrifice himself, just like the first James did, in order to protect the princess and in order to stop these oncoming zombies. I expected that, and that's fine. But to have most of the episode be like this Benny Hill kind of thing with the banana guards and the Jameses, it felt wrong. And outside of this context, the episode works fine. It's funny. It's the right amount of silly for Adventure Time. But because of what it's building off of, it feels like the entire buildup was a waste of time. It feels like everything that was building from was worthless. And now this could still go somewhere, and if it does, hopefully it goes somewhere good. Like maybe we'll have the return of the Jameses, or maybe because the Jameses were surrounding the zombie one, maybe it'll infect them and they'll slowly become this mutant zombie James. That'll become an even bigger threat. Um, but that's just speculation at this point. As of what we have, as of what this episode was, which was a payoff to a build-up, it failed. And again, if this goes somewhere in the future, and if that future episode fixes my issue with this, then cool. I'll be all for that. Like, if this episode wasn't actually the full payoff, but just kind of a middle ground, and the next time this kind of thing happens would be a payoff, again, I'd be cool with that. But as of now, as of where I am in the series, I have to judge it based on what I have seen. And as such, it fails. Again, on its own, it's a fine episode. Not the best, but fine. But as of what it is, because as of this point, I have to assume it is the payoff episode. And because of that, I can't label it as anything but extremely disappointing and a failure. But moving on to the second one here, the tower. This is a much better example. What is an example? This is a much better example of a payoff episode. This builds off of the entire events at the Citadel, with Finn's father betraying him and causing him to lose his arm and everything. He's kind of having these not quite PTSD moments because of it, but he's definitely feeling some fallout, I guess you could say, from the events of that. He's definitely feeling depressed. He's feeling like nothing's going right. He's angry, and he has a right to be. He wants revenge, and again, you can understand that. Don't necessarily agree with it, because revenge is never the right path, but you get it. You understand it. And we see him try to take that revenge by building this Minecraft-like tower out of all these different materials, stretching far into space, to the point where he passes out and hallucinates from just oxygen deprivation. And he has to learn his lesson by Bubblegum interfering and pretending to be his father, just so he can learn that revenge won't make him any happier. This is how you do a good payoff, because it shows Finn at his lowest, but it shows him growing from it. It actually builds off of what happened before in a very meaningful way. It doesn't feel like it came out of nowhere. It doesn't feel like it was a wasted effort. It feels like it understood what came before and understood how to take it to the next level. Now, this isn't done. The entire story with Finn and his father and their issues it's not done. I guarantee it. But just like with James 2, I have to judge this solely on where it is. I have to judge this based on where it is as an episode. And as of this episode, that was fantastic. That is how you do a payoff to a build-up. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. So this set of episodes is kind of a mixed bag for me. The first one was a failure as a payoff to a build-up. The second one was a huge success as a payoff to a build-up. And just on their own, even without the build-up factoring in, they're fine episodes. Both of them, neither of them are like amazing, but they're both fine. I enjoy them. But I have to look at them as payoffs to a build-up because of what they mean and what they came from and all. And it's funny that both of these episodes did end up being that kind of thing, both of them being a payoff episode. Now, as I said, if this goes somewhere different with each of them in the future that will change my thoughts on it overall, then okay, I will accept that and I will reevaluate things when I get to that point. But, as I said, as of this moment, I can only judge it from what I have seen. And you might say, oh, but that's not the whole story. You can't judge it without the whole story. And you're kind of right. But as of where I'm at, that is the whole story to me. There is no other parts of the story that I have seen yet. So I can only judge it on what I've seen. I can't judge an episode based on what I haven't seen yet. At least not in this kind of context. You see, when you're talking about a story arc, you have to look at it one of two ways. Either it's the opening episode to an arc in which you have to judge it based on what comes in the future, because it's the opening part to an arc. You have to see where it goes for it to actually matter. But when it's the payoff to a arc, when it's the payoff to a build-up, you have to judge it on it being a payoff, on what you have seen it build from. It really only goes two ways with an arc like that. So it's either the first episode in which you have to judge it based on the payoff to come later. Like, for example, with the first James episode, I couldn't rightfully judge that until I saw James 2. And it's because of James 2 being the payoff that now I can judge it. And while the first James episode was great, it didn't have a proper payoff. It didn't feel right. But at the time when I first saw the first James episode, I couldn't judge it based on that alone. And the same goes with the past. Now, this is a different situation with the Citadel thing, because the Citadel was itself a payoff to something we had seen at the end of last season with Billy's little premonition about Finn's father. So that in and of itself was a payoff. But that episode also acted as the beginning of a new arc, Finn's arc with involving his father and his feelings towards him and what he's going to do to try to find him again. So it started a new arc. As such, you had to see where that was going to go. And again, we saw that with this episode, and it was a good payoff. And again, there's going to be more to both of these. I'm completely sure of that. And that's going to change how I view one way or the other, either for the better or for the worse. And when we get to that, I'll talk about that. But as of now, this is where we're at. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? So yeah, I was extremely disappointed by James 2, but I really liked the tower. And again, that baby deer was just the most adorable thing in this show. And again, this show has a lot of adorableness, but that was... that made my heart grow. Like, it was so cute. The noises it made, too, it's like... just too cute. Too cute. I can't wait to see more, though. And I will be seeing more some point soon. We are going to be doing Ancient Magus' Bride tomorrow. But after that, we'll be continuing on everything. Like Adventure Time, Devil's a Part-Timer, Ancient Magus. We're going to just continue with everything. New Star Versus every week. Yeah, we should be fine to go from here on out. And again, more new stuff coming next month. So yeah, I'm excited. In the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of these two episodes. What did you think of James 2? Did you find it as disappointing as I did, or did you like it? And for the tower, did you find it as great of a payoff as I did, or were you kind of on the other end? Did you not like it as much? Whatever your thoughts, it's completely fine. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie Royal, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
Or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles,